Hello, my name is Kathy Crawford, and I want to welcome you to the Commissioner's Corner. This is the Oakland County Commissioner's Corner. I'm Oakland County Commissioner serving District 9, which is Novi, and the small portion of Northville, which is also Oakland County. So today, as my guest, I have a person that I've known for a number of years, Ron Borngesser, who is the CEO of the Oakland Livingston Human Service Agency, or maybe you've seen the initials, OLHSA. So welcome, Ron.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming to the show. I want to tell the audience, though, that maybe they'd want to get a pencil and paper because there may be a number or something or other they'd like to write down, because your agency serves everybody in the Novi, in our viewing area, and has for 50 years, right?
That's
50
correct.
years.
It's our 50th anniversary.
And this year, you know what, that's the one thing I wanted to say to you, too, is that OLHSA and I share an anniversary, because I'm going to be married 50 years this year, and the agency's 50 years old.
Congratulations.
And I've decided, I don't know if you should congratulate me or not. I'm thinking, whoever thought they'd do this for 50 years, right? I mean, the agency's probably got to be thinking, wow, has it been 50 years that we've been serving the public? And yet, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that don't know anything at all about the agency, but maybe are more familiar with the programs such as Head Start, which the agency started. So, not only because it's the 50th anniversary, but I want you to tell us just what is OLHSA? Tell me.
And contrary to popular belief, I have not been there for the whole 50 years. So.
Well, I have been in my anniversary for 50 years.
But we are a community action agency. There's a little over 1,000 of them across the country, and we're strategically placed all over the country, and every county has a community action agency representing it.
But you do Oakland and Livingston counties, correct?
Yep. And our programs are geared to help, like you said, everybody in the community, with an emphasis on people that have real specific needs, whether it be utility assistance or older adult programs.
So you wouldn't necessarily have to be low income in order to be utilizing the services. You could have other issues, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are some that have means tests, but we have all kinds of different programs.
And by a means test, just so the audience knows, that means there's a fee for the service, correct?
Well, a means test
you have to be a guideline.
At a certain, it's a guideline. It's an income guideline. And they're really broad. There's a lot of people that they qualify for our programs that you would think that they wouldn't. So it's important for them to contact us so we can get a little information and identify which programs that they do qualify for, and then we would plug them into those programs.
I'm just so sure that people don't realize that not only that this agency has been around so many years, but they don't realize all the different programs and that maybe they could be served by the agency, right? And a lot of people, and I want to point this out to the audience, is that OLHSA has a small office, or has an office in the Novi Library that they meet once a week, and people can make an appointment, whatever kind of problem they might be having. And so I want to talk a little bit about the kind of things the agency does. And why, first of all, who created OLHSA and how did it come about?
Well, it goes back to Lyndon Johnson in the war on poverty. You probably remember that.
Yes.
in your
I do remember, actually.
And back then, 26% of our country was living in poverty.
Really?
People don't realize it was that high. And so he was the first president that actually decided to do something about that. And there's a lot of resources put behind that. The first 10 years of our existence, the poverty rate went down from 26% to 13%.
Really?
And that was because there was a real emphasis to try to do something about that issue, because we're a country with great wealth, and we shouldn't have that many people living in poverty. But that expanded. Our agency actually started in '65. Dan Murphy, who was the Oakland County executive for many years, was the chairman of our board of directors.
Wow.
And that was our beginning in 1965 in Royal Oak Township. And we've expanded to the whole Oakland and Livingston service area. We have over 400 people working for us and a budget of about $39 million to help.
So how do you get the money that
it's
you have?
mostly federal money.
Okay.
We get state money. We get great support from Oakland County and Livingston County. Thank you, the county commissioners and Brooks Patterson. Our relationship goes right back to the beginning with Oakland County. And we also do a lot of other things. We run WIC clinics for the health division.
Women, infants, children, right, is the WIC, W-I-C. Okay.
And we also do community development block grant programs for them, minor home repair. We have a contract with the Novi city to do minor home repair. So we're doing a whole lot of things throughout the county, serving virtually the whole population.
Now, does the does the federal government then tell you what you have to, what the programs you have to emphasize? Do they give you the program ideas, I guess, is what I'm trying to say?
No, it's the community.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
that was the whole idea behind
So there's
community
no
action.
strings attached to the money?
Well, I wouldn't say that. There's strings attached. But the community identifies which programs they want.
Okay.
And then we go out and identify the funding for that and bring it in. Certainly there's strings attached depending on which program it is, but if the community doesn't need a particular service, we wouldn't go after it. So that's the benefit and the beauty of community action is that we're all different. We have some things that are similar.
So how many community action agencies are there?
There's over 1,000.
I mean, what about Michigan?
There's 29 in Michigan.
29 in Michigan.
Yeah. And we're the second largest in the two-county area. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some similarities. Most of us run Head Start programs. Most of us have weatherization and energy efficiency programs. But after that, older adults is one of our emphasis. It may not be in another area. So it depends on where you're at.
So now would a person have to go to Pontiac in order to receive services? I know that, like I said, we do have a presence at the Novi Library, but for other kinds of services and programs, are they going to have to go to Pontiac?
Should not have to go to Pontiac at all. The Novi Center is what we call a virtual welcome center. We're Wi-Fi, we have Wi-Fi, and we have one database for all of our programs. It's in one database. So we ask some basic questions about how the individual situation is, and we can identify right on site. If you and I were sitting together, I have my laptop, I can tell you which programs that you qualify for, which ones you want to access, and we'll sign you up for them right there.
Most people, I think, that need, they don't only need just, if they're in need anyway, they don't just need one thing. So if they were go to this virtual center in a way, a virtual welcome center, then that person would be able to tell them what kinds of services and programs would best let them have a better quality of life. Is that how that would work?
Exactly. We served 87,000 individuals and families last year, and they
in Oakland County or
in Oakland and Livingston County, and 260,000 services, units of service were provided. So typically, if you just look at the numbers, everybody that walks through our door gets at least 3 services.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I think. Well, I didn't say to the audience anyway that I used to work for the agency years ago, back in the day, and was responsible for programming in senior centers, in the 30 or 35 senior centers that there were within Oakland and Livingston County. And they weren't, they were actually nutrition sites where people could go and get a meal. So there's a lot of programs that exist that I'm sure, such as Walk for Warmth. There's lots of programs out there that people don't know anything at all about. Now, we've just experienced a pretty awful or a difficult winter with very low temperatures and everything, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that were just sort of living on the edge of being able to make it. You know, I think about, we have a daughter that, you know, is part of the whole working poor kind of group that, you know, she's a single mom and she's just, you know, if one thing goes wrong, you know, that kind of sets her back. So I know that the utility bills are going to be exceptionally high for people. What does Walk for Warmth do? I mean, how does that work?
Well, that's our big fundraiser that we have each year. The first one was last week, as a matter of fact, and we were at the Great Lakes Crossing in Auburn Hills. Our Livingston County Walk is going to be a week from Saturday on the 22nd of February. And we raise about $180,000, all of it going for energy utility assistance. This would be heating bills, electric bills, it's a big issue.
Were there more people involved this year than ever, or?
There was in Oakland. Yeah, in Oakland it spiked. I think two things: the economy's gotten better, and people are very generous in Oakland County anyway. But you can see that with the economy getting better, they're being a little more generous in their donations, and also just the way the heat or the way the winter has been so tough.
I know.
The need for our assistance has spiked. We have gotten some additional grants. The state has also loosened their pocketbooks, so we actually have money available. So people that are having trouble should give us a call, and we'll see if we can help them out.
Okay, and we're gonna post that number at the very end of the show, because I know that there's people out there that have never needed services before, or maybe have never really asked for help in the past, but this winter has been especially hard. So maybe there will be people that shouldn't feel uncomfortable at all with calling, and at least if the agency cannot help them, perhaps they can give them a number of another resource that could assist. Is that right?
That's correct. We work with all the agencies. We know what they have available. They know what we have available. Sometimes we can't solve all the problem, and we'll work together to help do that. But you're right. Individuals sometimes have a reluctance to call, especially if they've never had a need for help in the past.
Maybe they're embarrassed or feel uncomfortable about it.
We saw that during with the foreclosure rate. When all the houses were going under, there were people that never thought that would happen to them. And they waited and waited and waited too long, and then they lost their homes. We were available to help them work through the process, because it's a cumbersome process, and it's a scary process.
And it's such a stressful thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very stressful.
And you bring up a good point. One of the things, we can't always solve a problem, but one thing I've heard many, many times is that you need to have somebody to talk to. Mm-hmm. And just coming in and being able to talk to somebody that's compassionate and will listen to them, walking out the door, the stress level a lot of times goes down. At least they had somebody to listen to their problems.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I love that. And one of the things that I noticed in the materials that I received about the agency too is that, you know, the national goals may be that low-income people, the object is that they would become more self-sufficient, and the conditions which people live in perhaps could be improved. But sometimes the things that we think will help someone isn't really all that they need. They may need more than that. So you have people actually that understand that, correct? And they may know that, look, I can give you this meal today, but you're going to need a meal again tomorrow. So if you're only asking me food for today, what are we going to do long range? And I think that's, you know, tell me a little bit about the mission of the agency to help people become more self-sufficient, I suppose.
That's our mission. You just hit it on the head. When people come in, they're usually in crisis mode, and we have what's called a self-sufficiency matrix. It's got 6 levels to it, and when you're coming under a crisis, the first thing to do is you got to eliminate that crisis to
meet the immediate need.
Meet the immediate need, and then we work with that individual and family to move them up through the matrix to thriving. That's the end. I'm self-sufficient now. I don't need your help anymore. And so we stick with the family and help them through those various phases. There's job training. There's a job, making sure the medical is taken care of. So we do what we can to make sure that the family is stabilized, and that we do move the person up to self-sufficiency. And one thing that we've noticed is that most people come to us just once for service. Something's happened. You said it earlier. Yeah. They get a big medical bill, their car breaks down, they can't get to their work, they lose their job, they've got a crisis. And so we'll be there for that crisis. They get back on their feet, and they don't need us anymore. A few years back, I think one of the most fulfilling things I ever saw was an individual came in and wrote us a check for $133.57.
Wow.
And we asked, well, why that? Well, that's how much I received 3 years ago when I needed utility assistance. She was back on her feet working, and she paid us back. And that is just, it makes my day. It makes my career very fulfilling, for sure.
Yeah, because I think education and information is something that is is always helpful. You know, I know the agency mission is to help people become more self-sufficient, but it involves not just meeting the immediate need, like you said. You know, you can give a person that's hungry a meal now, but how are they going to improve or be able to improve their situation? And that's what I really believed in the whole philosophy in the beginning, because you're not just handing people money. You know, you are providing support services so that they won't have to come back to the agency again. And you can move on to another group, right? Is that how it works?
It's a hand up. It's not a handout, that's for sure.
Because I think that, I think too often people have, some of them that are especially in a cycle of poverty perhaps, they just, because for a while I worked with low-income families, and I could see that the children they were bringing up in that cycle sometimes expected, well, we get a check, you know, we get a check from the government, and that's how we live, with no thought about, you know, maybe how they could improve their own life.
Yeah. So,
you know, I like to hear about that. Now, you have partnerships and everything that you develop to help. For example, the Walk for Warmth. You have people that sponsor a team to walk. Is that how it works?
We have corporate sponsors and small teams too. Genesis Credit Union is our presenting sponsor, but most of the banks contribute to the walk. The energy companies, Consumers Energy, had 90 staffers there as their team this year.
Wow.
And they're matching, Consumers is matching 2 to 1 for all of the employee contributions that were made. We don't know what that number is just yet, so we're looking forward to it. So everybody's getting involved. And then we have teams like 3. And we've got one group that's called the Andrews Sisters. They come in, there's 3 of them. And they're just friends, and they call themselves the Andrews Sisters, and they walk every year. And
it's not always up there in Auburn Hills either, is it? The Walk for Warmth is, you know, it could be in a different location next year. You maybe don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But, Great Lakes Crossing has worked well for us because the stores give discounts for the walkers. And so it's a nice
Well, even
nice
though
event.
the walk is over for Oakland County, and a person now realizes, you know, say there's a person out there that happens to catch this show, and they think, oh, gee, you know, I would have given a donation if I would have known how to, you know, that this was even going on. So if there's a person out there, and the need is great, there's no question about the need. So if they want to donate, I don't care if it's $5, if it's, you know, $50, whatever it is, how would are they still able to donate to the Walk for Warmth, or would they still be able to help a family that needs a hand up?
Absolutely, and you'll be getting information, contact information on the screen later on. They can send in a check to OLHSA. They can go on our website. We have the ability to take a credit card if they want to donate that way. In fact, the website has a Walk for Warmth link, and they can go right into the Walk for Warmth portal and make a donation if they care to that way.
So they could go on the website, the OLHSA website, and then see all the various programs too, correct?
Right, that's correct.
And Head Start, I'm interested, I think most people are familiar with Head Start in some way. They've heard of it anyway. They've probably heard of it more frequently than they've heard of OLHSA. If a person wanted to be, say, a volunteer, with the agency, or maybe a volunteer, maybe they really like working with children, is there a place for them where they could volunteer?
Absolutely. In fact, we have a volunteer link as well. If you want to volunteer, you click on that. It takes you into our programs, as you mentioned. You give us your name and contact information, and we'll get back with you. And if you have a particular program that you're interested in, we'll link you to that program directly.
What are some of the programs over time that OLHSA actually started? Did they actually start Meals on Wheels back in the day? Or, you know, home delivered meals? Was that a program of the agency?
Yeah, we were one of the first to do that. And certainly in Oakland County we were. And you mentioned the senior centers. We did run the senior centers for many, many years. That's changed dramatically because the older adult population's interests have changed. But Head Start has been one of the premier programs. We've had 79,000 children go through Head Start. Our weatherization program, I think, is one of the most successful. This energy efficiency is one of the first energy efficiency programs in the nation back to 1976.
What kind of things do they do as a part of that weatherization?
We've weatherized over 16,000 homes in Oakland, Livingston counties.
Like
and
putting in insulation?
Insulation, weather stripping, caulking.
Roof?
We have other money for that. Not as much, because roofs are much more expensive. Furnace repair too. We have to look at each case individually. Of course, if there's a big roof problem, the roof's got to be fixed before you weatherize.
Right. Yeah.
So
do you also work on mobile homes? Because I know that there's an issue. Some people move into a mobile home and they think, oh, it's so energy efficient, and you come to find out that especially in a winter like this winter, you really find that they're maybe not as energy efficient, especially an older mobile home. I'm not sure about the energy efficiency of today's mobile home.
No.
Do you also work with people that live in that kind of a living arrangement, and maybe they're in a mobile home, or maybe they're even in an apartment?
Well, mobile homes and houses, that's the bulk of them. We have done some apartments before. That's not as much, because we want to deal with the houses and the individuals that are in those houses. You're right, mobile homes are not energy efficient by any means, but we do mobile homes too.
Oh, okay, good. And were there other programs too that the agency has been involved in?
I think one of the most successful is called the Earned Income Tax Credit Program. It started with President Reagan when he was president, and he calls it one of the most effective anti-poverty programs that was ever invented. Most people you call it the working poor. They're working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Well,
yeah, I mean, in the past couple of years, there's even been a larger population that way.
Exactly.
Right?
So they don't earn enough money to pay income tax, but they can get their money back. So we help them fill out their income tax forms, and they get a tax credit. Last year alone, $1.3 million was refunded to individuals in Oakland and Livingston counties.
So are there people that just never claim that money then?
They didn't even know
they don't even know they qualify for it.
We can go back 3 years to individuals that they don't know they qualify. And that's money that goes right back into the economy, because there's rent being paid, there's food, gasoline. So it's a real economic stimulus, as well as helping the family make ends meet.
So would they have to be low income in order to qualify for that assistance?
It depends on what their income is. Yeah, we have to look at it individually. It is an income threshold, because that determines how much, if you have to pay federal tax or not.
I see.
Yeah.
So people should really call and find out if there's something like that that they qualify for, correct?
And we're in the tax season right now.
Are there any, I think I have noticed over time that agencies and organizations that have done the same thing for, say, 50 years, for example, tend to not be in touch with the way the world is today. Has OLHSA sort of morphed as time has gone on in this 50 years that you've been working in Oakland and Livingston County?
Well, we think we have. We've had a lot of firsts for Oakland County. Mm-hmm. We started the first federally qualified health center. There hadn't been one of those in Oakland County. We started the first domestic violence shelter.
Really?
Yes. We started the deaf and hard of hearing program, still in existence today. It's become a metropolitan Detroit, Southeast Michigan program. So we've done a lot of things. We started the furniture bank. We start these programs and then we spin them off.
And then that's sort of the way you operate, right?
That's right.
I mean, your goal is not to keep these programs to yourself, and they need to be changing with the culture too, right?
I think the biggest program we started was a charter school back in 1998. Charter schools, Governor Engler was the one that started charters, and our Head Start parents did not like the education that the Pontiac School District was providing. So we started a charter school. It's in existence today. It's a K-12. We got 1,200 children in it. It's meeting all the state guidelines, and that was what you just said it. There was a need. We went out and fulfilled it.
So will this charter school be spun off, you think?
It is. It's self-sufficient.
Yep.
It's a public school.
Public school.
With its own board of directors and although they're in our building, our complex, it's a totally separate entity.
And speaking about the board of directors, OLHSA has some kind of, you have a board also, right? You've got an executive board, and then you have a larger board. Are you required to have certain, there's guidelines for these boards that you have, federal guidelines? You have to have so many people, or you have to be set up a certain way?
That was one of the unique parts about community action, is that it's called a tripartite board. 1/3 public officials, which you're one of. We got county commissioners, we got a representative from Brooks Patterson's office. Private sector, we've got a Delphi attorney, we've got hospital administrators, private sector, and then the representative, the community reps, actually are low income, or they represent a group that represents low income people. So
people that are actually receiving the services have some say in the goals and the objectives of the agency.
That's what makes it unique. You won't find that anywhere else.
No, I mean, usually the board is made up of either people that work there or you know, receive services. But yeah, this is a kind of a large board too, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you've got a big board that you work with, but you also have a smaller executive committee.
That's correct.
Are there any things that that you are planning to do in the future? Are there things that, you know, what kind of things are you hoping in the next 50 years we'll be able to accomplish? Are we going to ever get rid of poverty?
Well, if we really emphasized it, I don't think we'd ever get rid of it totally, but certainly that 10-year first 10 years showed that if an emphasis is placed on it, something can be done. And we moved away from that. In 1974, our priorities shifted, and the amount of money that was going into programs like ours went down dramatically. There was about $2 billion in community action, and that's with a B, back in '64. There's $700 million now, nationwide. Wow. So that's in 2014 dollars. So you can see the emphasis has greatly diminished, and it limits what we're able to do.
Well, I know, you know, and you and I could go on and talk forever because we're both really positive that this service is something that everybody should at least know what the components are of the agency, and there's something in it for everybody. And I want the audience to know that in your brochure it says OLHSA, a community action agency through collaboration and partnership, empowering people in need of assistance who live in the communities we serve to gain knowledge, skills, and the resources that will improve their quality of life. So I wish we had more time that I'd be able to talk to you. I know in the next show we're going to talk about one of the really the most prominent programs, or one of the more popular programs that you have. We'll be talking about that. But I appreciate so much that you were here, that we sort of told about the 50th anniversary. And thanks a lot, Ron Borngesser, for being my guest today at Commissioner's Corner. And I would ask our viewing audience to make sure they tune in to the next show, where we're going to be talking a little bit about a special program that everyone in the community can really benefit by. So make sure that you bring your pencil and paper so you can write down the numbers to call. So, and thank you very much for watching.